What up, YouTube? What up?
I'm always eating something. Whatever we were.
You can say that again. What up, man? It's your boy Eric.
And
Nikki. Coming at you. Today we are going to talk about the implications of having really debilitating anxiety towards life in general, but in particular coronavirus. It's very prevalent right now that a lot of people that I see on social media or just in person are complaining of mania episodes, depressive episodes, and anxiety related ailments and episodes. So it was imperative that we made a video to discuss it, especially Nikki being a spiritual person. This is kind of right up her alley. I know myself, as of about 2 weeks ago, have been experiencing immense anxiety. It's usually this time of year, around this time, I get this surge of unexplained confusion, hysteria, and angst. And I don't know what to attribute it to. I'm not going to sit here and say coronavirus is because of it, but coronavirus sure as hell doesn't help. So I'm having a lot of personal battles within myself with my anxiety. And hopefully we can kind of clear some stuff up and give some, some kind of advice and knowledge for how to handle it, essentially.
And how to handle it when you're dealing with a person that you're close to, and what you go through, the thoughts you have, dealing with a person in your life that you care deeply about, going through that whole ordeal while you're trying to also stay sane in a time like this.
Exactly. So, me personally, let's face it, everyone with Corona, everyone's at home, everyone's at the crib, they may be on their couch, sipping a Capri Sun, eating some Lay's, just kicking it for the day. 8 hours later, and they're still working on that bag of Doritos Cool Ranch. So, a lot of people are at home right now. The thing is, when people go to work, it gives them purpose. So it's easier to hold your head tall and walk with honor and dignity and respect for yourself when you have a job that you love and you're going to work, whatever the case, or you do something you love. Well, a lot of people, it seems like we were just at the medical weed shop the other day, and there's just a long line of people, and all of them are kind of hunched over, and they look kind of docile, and they look very in their head. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't just me that's going through this. This is other people as well. And it's interesting to see because our jobs give us purpose.
Could I chime in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think that's the problem where people have been brainwashed as a society to think that their jobs give them purpose, where it's not their jobs that give them purpose.
It's deeper.
Your purpose on life is, again, like I said before, to expand and to just gain as much knowledge as you possibly can. As long as you're doing that, you're fulfilling your purpose, because the whole purpose of energy is to expand, right? So just being here on earth and talking to people and learning, as much as people want to label something as their occupation, as their purpose, it's not that. It's just gaining as much information and uplifting the vibration, doing stuff that makes you happy so you make other people happy, and just creating. And I think that's an issue wherein people develop these psychological problems or feel insecure because they're not working. It's like, well, you can't let your job define you. If you do, then you're not, it's just slipping down a hole of depression, I guess, because what happens when you do lose your job? What happens when you don't enjoy what you do? It's like, then you go through these mental struggles, I think, and it's important to know that you are enough, and your job occupation doesn't label you as whoever you are. That's not your value. That doesn't define your worth.
Yes. I think a lot of people are just a cog in the system, but that doesn't devalue them as individuals.
Right.
That's just saying we live in a country where, America can be bought one way or another. It's a country that's ran on the premise and the basis of corporations. So when I say cog in the system, that doesn't mean people aren't capable. That doesn't mean people aren't individuals that hold something, that hold knowledge and wisdom. It's just saying that, in this country we live in, that's just kind of how it is. But I want to talk about some ways of kind of breaking out of that funk, as I call it. A lot of people are walking around in a funk right now. The fear of, will I lose my job? The fear of all your money stopping right now. The fear of just the act of going to work and getting out of your head. Just the action of being at your place of work. And on top of it, to compound everything, coronavirus. So it's like you have a magnitude of reasons to be nervous, anxious, depressed, stressed out. I'm sure a lot of people's bipolar episodes, because with coronavirus, it's just so happening that it's happening now in March, and the season is changing. We're kind of in that midst of winter going into spring, but it still kind of feels like winter. So it's not fully, once the sun comes out, I'm sure a lot of people will, feel better about themselves. But I don't know. Do you have anything to add?
I'm still chewing.
My biggest thing is, like she said, people who value themselves on the basis of what they do for a living. Of course, it's human.
It's superficial, though.
It's superficial. I want to say it's human nature, but at the same time,
it's not human nature. It's conditioned. I really don't think it's human nature. I think that's the way we've been trained to think, because when you're little, all you want to do is play, go outside and experience as much as you possibly can. How when you grow up you develop all this anxiety and fear and a shame almost of what you are doing.
It's like play, and then the snap of a finger, money. Now it's money.
And and again, I think it's a very superficial, kind of way of thinking.
I mean, people do have to work.
They do, but you shouldn't let your job define the person that you are, nor let it make you feel depressed because you can feel depressed not working because you love what you do, but if you love what you do, you'll find a way to do it either way without getting money. So it's the
look at the podcast community. Look at like videos that normally have maybe like 100,000 views. You got 500,000 views. People are on YouTube right now more than ever. Just the podcasts, the regular ones that I watch, you just see just this influx of viewers. And for people who make YouTube videos and are making money off of monetization, more power to them. Because in a time like this, I'm sure there's a lot of envious people. I mean, there was a YouTuber I was watching the other day who was like, a lot of people want to do what I do. And obviously people want passive income at the end of the day, so it doesn't necessarily have to be YouTube. But in a time like this, we just need the tools to know what it's going to take to bring us peace of mind and sanity. So
I think that's within you, though. That's another thing. Everybody is looking outside for all these answers, where they need to understand all the answers are within.
It's also, you don't wake up one day and just feel good. You have to work on it. You have to work on yourself. So working out is the number one thing that I recommend. Another thing I recommend is
meditation.
Meditation. I'll get to that, but I call it Mother Nature's milk, where I take a blender and I have kale, strawberries, bananas, and blueberries and apples, and I call it Mother Nature's milk. And I was going through major anxiety episodes in 2015, 2014. And a lot of that was overcame. It wasn't completely diminished, but a lot of it was overcame, and I had a breakthrough just off the basis of changing my diet. Because the thing with food is that we're living organisms. So us as living beings need to consume live enzymes, they call it. Fruits, vegetables, a living enzyme. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Meditation, like you said, is another good thing. For me, I force myself to work out, and the days where I don't want to work out, those are the days that I make sure I work out. Right now, I'm doing 6 days a week, lifting for 90 minutes, and then I'll do my little 4 or 5 miles, depending on what day it is. But it's funny, I've never worked out and then looked back on it and went, see, if I don't want to work out, the next day, I'm always going to have the realization that, damn, I should have worked out. But you don't work out and then have a realization that, damn, I shouldn't have worked out. That just doesn't happen. So you're always you have to put yourself in, you're always going to thank yourself at the end for putting in that work. It's a lot easier to hold your head tall knowing that you exerted some physical effort to obtain your mental sanity.
I think another thing is, like, if you're that anxious and fearful, which leads to more fear and anxiety, and you you attract what you are. So if you're feeling that, you're going to attract even more fear and anxiety. Stop watching the news. Like, honestly, that's just making you more anxious, and it's not really giving you a resolution of anything. You know, hearing all these deaths around the world, first of all, what can you do to control millions and millions of deaths, you know, or not millions, thousands of deaths? Nothing. You just can ingest that fear and attract even more fear and more anxiety.
Yeah, granted, you want to stay aware, you want to know what's going on, but it's called fear mongering, and, you know, the news, mainstream media loves to do that, you know, just flashing lights. They'll have something that says breaking news, then underneath it'll be like, we're with our liberal correspondent, blah, blah, blah. And it's essentially an op-ed. It's just an opinion piece. It's not breaking news.
Right.
It's some professor telling his subjective point of view. So just take what you see on the news with a grain of salt, man, because the news likes to, you know,
hype things up
and fear monger. They do a lot of fear mongering, divide and conquer. That's what the news, and that's left and right, you know, whether it's CNN to Fox News. The mainstream media has a tendency of doing that, and it's not good for your health.
I guess I had a question for you. Being, I guess, in partnership, like, what are some things that are good for a partner to do to help when you're going through anxiety? And, you know, like, what would you suggest?
I'll say two big things: giving them the nurturing that they need by being there in person, but also giving them space, because a lot of times you'll hear couples, when things fall apart, they say, it's not you, it's me. But in a time like this, when you're actually going through like a manic funk and you don't know what the fuck it is, you don't know how to put your finger on it, it's all you know is that you're having extreme anxiety and confusion. You know, you want to isolate, and by nature, you're not going to want to talk to people, even if it's the people that you love the most. So just learning to not take it personally. I can play my role and still being there. And it's not about me at the end of the day, but I want to make it not about me so much so that I don't become somebody else's problem by always, because people are going to say, what's up? And what are you going to tell them? You know, I feel like shit. You're going to say that every time, you know? So I rather just out of sight, out of mind till I feel better. It's not the healthiest thing to do, and you're slowly teaching me out of that, but that's what I'm used to. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the biggest factor is time at the end of the day.
I do think it's and this is just my opinion, I don't think it's really healthy to be out of sight, out of mind have that type of mentality. I think it's more efficient to integrate it, or to talk about it, or to accept it, understand it's there, and work through it, instead of just like, oh, let's brush this aside and block it out of my vision and not deal with it and just wait till it goes away.
Well, that's, you know, it's not necessarily that. It's just not becoming someone else's problem, because I'm embodying something right now that I don't like, that I don't know what it fully have an understanding what it is. It's just an anxiety spell. So just in the past, time is the biggest variable.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, yeah, you know, give them the space they need, but also be there for them when they need them too. So it's kind of like you got to bounce between those two.
And for me, I think I know you said that you just don't want to bother people. I think it's not bothering me. I would rather know what's going on a day-to-day, even, I don't know, like frequent.
Yeah.
No, I want to know, even from a minute to minute or hour to hour, just understand what exactly you're going through, because I can only speculate and I can only, you know, assume, and then that makes me anxious and think all these other thoughts of what it could be, and it probably it's not even that, but I have a million things going through my mind, and then that makes me anxious. And I rather just know, and I'm never bothered if you want to talk. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you, babe. Appreciate that. What can you say to people who are experiencing mania, whether that be from losing their, you know, external factors, losing their job, fear of getting corona, income stopping, losing their place where they live? You know, what can you say to those people?
Well, for those people that is not it's triggered by something, it's an exterior element that triggers anxiety, not just something in their brain that their chemicals are off or whatnot.
Right.
I think it's important to know that, first of all, you have to stay present. You can't think of the future. You've made it this far in life, you know, obviously you're fine, so you need to trust the universe that it has your back, and not not get so wrapped up and worried and anxious, because again, if you feel that way, you're going to attract more elements, more things, more situations that cause you to feel anxious and fearful. So it's important to just stay in a place of gratitude and try to meditate, try to take one day at a time and just be present in the present moment. Like, you're here alive right now. Just
tell them about Eckhart Tolle. Power of Now. Yeah, Eckhart Tolle was a guy who lived from Germany. He was homeless. He lived on I'll sum it up really fast. He lived on a bench for 2 years, and he trained his brain to think in terms of the now. Now he's a best-selling author, travels the world, whatever. But the power of now, it's such a, you know, you only have control of the present moment.
Right, exactly.
It's easier said than done, but you know, they have. You know, there's a lot of people who need to be in touch with the present moment.
Right.
They're too occupied by things that have already transpired or things
and things will always work out. I've never really heard of a person that said things didn't work out in the long run. Everybody always says, yeah, it worked out. It always works out. So trust in the miracles that the universe has in store for everybody, and just know that you control your own, you manifest your
exactly.
world.
I've never been a 76ers fan, but I will say, shout out to my boy Joel Embiid. Trust the process.
Trust the process. You have to just trust. And all of these I think situations that we're going to are just lessons that I feel our soul has to learn to evolve into that next stage of, you know, your spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
A lot of people say that, you know, after going through a very traumatic event, they find peace and they find God and, you know, the universe, and I feel like that's if you can't get it, the universe is going to give you something traumatic to get it, until you finally just learn to trust and be happy and be grateful. And then once you're aligned with yourself, then everything will start going better, falling into place. Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, we just wanted to make a video for all those people who are being affected by Corona or the outrage that's tied to it from watching the mainstream media. Don't watch the news. Be informed without absorbing all of what mainstream media has to offer. Anyways, yeah, we want to make this video for those people who are experiencing angst, who are experiencing mania, depressive episode of any kind.
Know that you're not the only one.
You're not the only one.
Just a couple days ago, I got into like a state of just like, you know, like, what is going on? Like, this doesn't even feel real. Got really depressed, and it's not just you. It's everybody is being affected.
Of course.
Affected. And I was listening to a couple of podcasts. I DJ, so I was listening to my fellow DJs talk, and they were even talking about how this whole thing has them so wrapped up in anxiety, and it's just staying at home, not being in contact with anybody. All of that shit gets to you because we're human beings. We need to be connected to each other, and if we feel isolated, obviously that's going to make our brains go crazy. Yeah. So it's not just you, it's everyone. And for people that have a heightened sense of anxiety and fear, just try to meditate and I think
meditate, work out, and eat right. I know it's easier said than done, and that's what, you know, everybody's saying, but it's like, stick to the program, man. Don't do it for 2 days and then you're like, well, I already did it, I owe myself to take a break. It's like, you have to be consistent, man. It takes 3 weeks to develop a habit. And I know for me, it's been 3 weeks since I've worked consistently. It's been 3 weeks since my episode has really began, and I don't know, I think it may be tied to that. I don't know. I've been having this issue since I was a little boy, but anyways.
And I think also, if I can add, if you are in partnership that's with somebody that's going through manic episodes or just extreme anxiety and you don't know what to do, I think communication is key. Like, just talk about it. If you have a problem or an issue, don't let that.
Don't isolate like I did.
Because it just makes it worse for both parties, you know, because now neither of you know what's going on, and that causes even more anxiety.
Yeah,
and
just compounds
it.
Just
talking about it and expressing your feelings, it's like therapy, right? You want to get that off your chest. At the same time, you're letting the person know, this is how I feel, so they can work through it together. You guys can work through it together. Yes,
ma'am. Tell your loved ones you love them, and everybody just keep your head up, and we'll make another video in a couple days and touch base. But other than that, have a good day, everyone.
Bye. Peace.
Take care.